Good morning, everyone. It's Dr. Arlene Diamco, the MultiDimensional MD. Thank you so much for joining me today. It's a very special day. It actually marks 2 years since my dad's crossing over. And so, not surprisingly, when I sat down to meditate yesterday to see what to talk about, then this topic came up, finding your voice in the darkness. And, you know, there's this anniversary effect. So if there's a momentous occasion, whether it's something that feels really good or something that's really intense and heavy, you can have these shock wave effects, and you can tend to feel them on the anniversary of that event. And so I can feel that bit more of heaviness today than I have like most days in the last year. And so it's just like another wave to go through. So I thought I would talk about that, how I help my patients through it, and things that you can do. So I'm going to go through 4 suggestions for that. And in terms of like, what does finding your voice in the darkness, what does that have to do about health? It is so much, because in order to access deeper healing, you have to be able to hear yourself. You have to be able to trust yourself. You have to be able to express yourself. And so you can also consider it if you have any issues in this kind of throat chakra area, this energy center, which represents your voice, although you can have that anywhere in your body, that expression represented. So, but here, this is your throat, your larynx, your thyroid, your neck. So if you have any issues in that area, then I would pay special attention to this live stream. And I did talk last year about the anniversary effect. So that was episode 78. So if that's something that applies to you or you feel it resonates with you, then you can go back and watch that. So the first thing is, in order to keep going, you have to pause and listen. It's amazing because there are so many paradoxes in deeper healing. So in order to move forward, you have to stop. You have to be able to listen. Otherwise, what happens is you end up running in circles. So if you ever get in the situation or just have this mindset of like, why does this keep happening to me? Or why am I stuck in this situation? Then pause and listen. When all your senses feel filled, you have this great opportunity to go inward and to learn to trust yourself. It's in that stillness that you'll hear this still small voice that's your essence. And your essence is that part of you that's this unique emanation of the stillness, the oneness. So, in a way, even though you can hear the loudness and the intensity of what's going on in your life, all of that sort of starts to drown everything out. And if you just stop and go inwards, inwards, inwards into the center of your being, then you'll start to feel that stillness. And you'll hear this still small voice emerge. It's a still small voice because it can sound quieter than the chatter in your mind, that ego mind. It will be a voice that's encouraging and gentle and loving. And that's how you know that you're hearing that still small voice of your essence, that emanation from the stillness. So whether you feel like things are kind of like numbing out, you can go inwards, or whether you feel like, gosh, you're overstimulated by things where it's like you can't even make sense of everything, you can also go inwards. So in either situation, you can go inwards. So the next thing is this a beautiful exercise to help align mind, body, spirit. And this is something that I have walked many patients through. It's pretty remarkable, actually, because I have seen people in like PTSD states, panic states. At the end of they said that they have nowhere else to go. They have nothing. They're out of resources. They're out of solutions. So if you feel like that, then use this exercise to help align mind, body, spirit. Even if you don't, this is an amazing thing to do. This is something that I did this morning, so I'll tell you more about that. So the first is to consider these questions. How do you feel? So what emotion is coming up? Or if you're not sure, then how does your body feel? And if you do have any emotions coming up, how would your body express how you are feeling? Do you feel like curling up in a ball in this protective mode, into fetal position? Do you feel like running, fleeing? Do you feel like trembling, shaking, just wanting to shake things off, or just overwhelmed with the intensity of things? Do you feel like screaming or roaring? Now, can you go through the imagination of yourself doing this? You don't even have to do it for real. You don't have to act it out. Your imagination will feel similar to your brain in terms of neural pathways. So this is something when I felt in people that they were really like a shell of themselves, and they were really pulled so tightly inwards. And so they felt very numb and just not able to function in life in the way they would like to. So staying at home, avoiding activities, not wanting to go out, not wanting to socialize. And so there was this feeling of, like, osteopathically, what I could feel is this feeling of so much tension that the energy field of themselves was like curled up in this tight wound ball. So sometimes what I tell people to do is to imagine not resisting that feeling, that expression of how they feel. So if you could set aside some time where you feel safe, you feel like in the comfort of your room or your home, or if you're not sure if you feel safe, then I'm happy to do it with you and help hold that sacred space, healing space for you, so you can have that feeling of safety. And then you give yourself time to curl up in your nest and literally like hug yourself in so tightly and tend to your wounds, because that's how you tell those hidden parts of yourself, I'm here for you, I see you, I hear you, I love and accept you. And while you do all of that, like you're hugging yourself really tight, if that's the way you're feeling, or if you're imagining yourself running, if that's the way you're feeling, or roaring, what I want you to do, and this is really important, is to keep your breath moving, because that movement of your breath helps to process it. So you, with your mind, choosing to imagine what your body wants to do to express itself, to express your emotions. See, that helps you align mind, body, spirit. So instead of resisting this tension in your body, you actually hug it in. And now it's aligned. So then we want it to help process. You line it first, and then with the breath, just keep moving that breath, and you will start to shift. So you can try this for yourself. If it feels like too much for you, that's okay. You can always come in and come see me. I'm happy to help you through this. But I have seen people be able to work through panic states by doing this. And it is really so remarkable. So instead of being stuck in this wave of intensity, so this wave of emotion that comes through you that you don't want to feel, but by choosing to not resist it, you curl into the tension. And then with your breath, see, it starts to be able to process. So here's the stress response, and then you can access the de-stress response, which is also a natural part of you. So there are so many ways that you can access this. I did this for myself this morning. So I felt that weight, and I could feel this weight in my shoulders and in my chest, just thinking about like my dad that had passed a couple of years ago. And I was like, wow, I do feel this heaviness. And I did some stretching and some yoga, and it helped me feel it more like through my breath and through my awareness. And so that I could move through it and hug it in and then move through it again. So it's something that you can do. And then after all of that, I actually did some shaking off exercises, the tension and trauma release exercises. And that helped to also that smooth out that process. So here's the wave, and you want it just to complete. And that's how you can start to hear yourself again and have more clarity. This is how I'm able to show up like this for all of you. So the next thing is to, of course, have courage. It takes courage to see yourself, to completely the bruises, the scars, and all, and to still hug it in. And so that courage helps you to hear your heart's desires. And it's usually something about loving and wanting to be loved, and that courage will help give you this momentum to move through the fear and resistance to change. So you're curled up in your ball, you breathe through it, that wave starts to subside, and then you start to access this courage to continue to give you some momentum, to allow yourself to love yourself more and to allow yourself to be loved as well. So, especially by yourself. So, how does this apply for me, my patients? Well, for me personally, my dad's physical death actually gave me courage, because what I had gone through with him and that really dark, difficult time was something that I felt was much harder than for me to start speaking my truth more fully. So I had already been in this world of holistic integrative medicine, but then I decided, I have so much more I can share, and this access to the spirit world and ways to really align mind, body, spirit, and how I've been in communication with my dad even after he's crossed over, and then I want to share that with you because it helps other people going through something similar. And you can actually access that connection from beyond as well. So I've started talking more about these things of how the spirit is so important in healing, the mind is so important in healing, and of course the body is so important in healing. Not one is more or less, but we need all of those dimensions to feel really whole as a human being. When we cross over, it's the physical death, but you have your spiritual form in a way, your light being. So that's a different state of being, but you're no longer human. So to get the most out of this human experience is to have courage to be human and to speak your truth as a human being. And so that's when I actually stopped being as hesitant to share my experience and my knowledge and my love with people, and to show you that you can do it too. It's not about me being more than others. It's about just showing how all of us are capable of that. All of us have these kinds of abilities. And if we just step into that love and that courage. And when people come to see me, especially in the beginning, and if they've been going through something long term, or there's some big illness, then I will often say that to them, that it will take some courage, because to be able to move through this disease process where your symptoms are your body's way of communicating with you, it's your mind's way of communicating with you, it's your being's way of communicating with you. It takes some courage to be able to look at those messages head on and to address them in a really loving and self-embracing way. So have courage for yourself and for the people around you, all your loved ones. You will have this ripple effect around you. And the last thing is to make authenticity a priority. Let a loving authenticity be your guide. You are love. And one year, one of my kids, when she was younger, one of my daughters, she gave me this Valentine's card that said, "Love is the power of you. You are love." And think it's so amazing that kids can remember that. So realize authenticity is your priority, and it is not pleasing everybody. Pleasing everybody is not your priority. It is impossible to please everybody. So when you live your authenticity, you might risk being misunderstood. And I realize that with medicine and kind of taking the path less traveled, that sure, I might be misunderstood, but at least I will have this grounded contentment and knowing that I'm being true to myself. And I feel that helps my patients and the people that connect with me to be able to do the same for themselves. It's okay to be different. Actually, everybody is unique. You're a unique emanation of the stillness. So to be able to embrace that and to live your authenticity, and that doesn't mean it's like your way or the highway. Sure, it feels good when people confirm you, but it's to kind of loosen up that need for people to confirm you in order for you to feel like your authentic self. It's not actually authenticity if you rely on other people confirming you for you. You're the only one that can really confirm yourself for yourself. And that is being authentic. So if you make, when you live your day, when you go about your day, you make your authenticity, this loving authenticity, a priority, you have a constant guide to your voice. And if you're unsure what your authentic being is, what that essence of you is, go back through the other steps to the first to keep going, to pause and listen, to do that exercise I talked about earlier to help align your body, mind, spirit, to have some courage. And if you're, another thing you could do is to ask your loved ones, what they love about you. And sometimes seeing yourself reflected back from the world can help you see yourself more fully. I know that when I get feedback from my writing, from my teaching, it helps me see myself, like what makes me uniquely me. And so it's a way of like seeing yourself in the world, not to rely on the external to see you, but to realize that anything in your life can be a mirror for you. And so if you can see that in a very loving way, then you can see your authenticity everywhere, within you, without you, and it all starts from within. So if anything, to feel really fully alive, to feel like you're using your voice, just your constant guide in the day is to make authenticity, a loving authenticity, your priority. So, those are my tips today for finding your voice in the darkness. I hope that helps you in some way. And, even talking about it, it really helps me too, because when I'm sharing this with you, this is me being my authentic self. And it feels so good. It makes me feel so much more present in my body. And it makes me feel so much more alive. So you can do that too. So thank you so much for joining me. If you have any questions, comments, of course, I would always love to hear from you. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. And you can always connect with me on Instagram at All Worlds Health, on Facebook at All Worlds Health and Pediatrics. You can sign up for my e-love letters. I send them out once a week on Wednesdays at allworldshealth.com. And if you want to listen to more about related topics, then go to The Dark Night of the Soul that I did. That's episode 78 of the MultiDimensional MD. And there's also episode 89 for why we care about what other people think, which I think is another really great episode. Both of those are. So again, I would love to hear from you. Stay tuned for next week, next Wednesday, 11 a.m. Eastern Time, for another episode of the MultiDimensional MD. Lots of love to all of you. Have a beautiful week, and I believe in you, so I hope you believe in you too. Take care.